Okay, I am going to get rocking and rolling here and get us started. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Smart Market call. I'm Paul Dean. For those of you that are new, and we have a lot of new companies on board here this week, I'll go through some of those lists. This is every week, every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. We talk about materials exchange, the system itself, any resources, tips and tricks, new developments on the platform. We talk about a market update, mills and supply. We've got industry guests that we invite to participate. And this week's guest is Kyle Little from Sherwood Lumber Company, Chief Operating Officer. He's going to be talking a little bit about some of the distribution challenges that we're all facing in today's marketplace. And I wanted to kind of digress a little bit. We've had a lot of guest speakers over the last number of weeks, and I just wanted to make you aware of that. Everybody from retailers to industry consultants and experts in all phases of the industry. Matt Lehman, of course, is heavily involved with us, working with us on various kinds of different platforms. Brendan Lowry from Forestry Economic Advisors was on a few weeks ago. Greg Riley, a major player with our organization in terms of being in consulting and participating, and he gives us all sorts of great insights. Jim Schumacher was on a few weeks ago. We kicked off the series with Thomas Mende, President and CEO of Binderholz. So we've had a wonderful lineup of speakers that we think provide a lot of perspective to not only what's going on in the industry, but most importantly from our seat, what's going on with materials exchange and how we are affecting change in the industry. Next week, we're going to have Todd DeWalt on from the Construction Leading Edge, a podcast that he runs. In fact, I think Mike Wisniewski was a guest on that podcast here this morning. Week after that, we've got Tim Atkinson, who's the VP of Sales for Stimson, talking a little bit from a mill's perspective, what's going on. So all sorts of things going on this Smart Market call. Great discussion, as you can tell, even by the folks that are on this call, just tremendous industry wisdom and knowledge, and we appreciate you all as customers and as suppliers. If you want to be a speaker, reach out to any of us here at Materials Exchange. Just let us know, and we're happy to have you on and get your perspective on all things digital or all things lumber. So 2 weeks ago, we introduced our new active markets. We call it Point and Shoot, new system enhancement. Again, you know, when you build your watch list on the platform, you see a lot of information there. There's a lot of sometimes you don't see everything that's actually offered in the marketplace. I call it building a butterfly net. So you're trying to capture all the live offers that are coming through the market, but sometimes there's holes. Sometimes you don't see everything. So we've built something called Live Markets, where you can click the box that says show active markets here at the top of the screen. And then that will generate a point and shoot menu where you can actually go on in and select all or select none or select specific grades and species of items that you would like to add to your watch list. And then from there, you simply add those to the locations that you've got on your company profile. And when you do that, of course, you get enhanced watch list. You now see all products offering all locations. And the net result of all this is we've actually seen a 60% increase in the watch list development, the number of items listed on individual watch lists. That's how much people have now seen new offerings and added them, copied them, pasted them to their existing watch list. Don't forget that when you copy these to your watch list, they will remain there forever unless you delete them. So each night when the market refreshes, the prices will refresh, or if anyone pulls their orders, there will no longer be pricing, but the items remain on your watch list. So it's over time. It's a nice way to build out your watch list repetitively. There's no duplications or anything. And it gives you a huge advantage of being able to see everything flowing through the marketplace. How is that equivalent to lumber flowing through the market? Well, we actually had 114% increase of volume that went through in April as a result, probably a direct result of the active markets, just being able to see more. People were able to transact more. So we're really excited about that development. And this is just a list, by the way, of all of the new companies that have come on board on the platform just over the last 10 days. And you'll see all sorts of players on here: retail lumber yards, suppliers, builders. You'll see here's a big treated company, of course. It is very hungry for southern yellow pine. You've got various different kinds of development companies. All of these have come on board here in the last 10 days. So just a huge development. I want to just for a second, I want to weigh in with Joe Campagna. Joe has been our guest here over the last couple of weeks to talk about the new active markets functionality. Joe, you there?
I am, Paul. Good morning, everybody, and thanks again. A couple of things, just as Paul mentioned, we have a lot of additional activity on the platform. We're seeing a lot more instruments, products being added into your watch list. We appreciate that. We have noticed a couple of things that we're working on, just FYI. Some of you are realizing duplicates if you don't have quantity and price. We're working on that. And we're also working on some back-end enhancements because we're seeing that there's a bit of a lag because there's so much demand to add to those watch lists that some of you are taking 30, 45 seconds or so to actually what we call paint or build your screen. So please bear with us. It's been an extremely well-used add-on to the system, and we are in the process of making some back-end engineering enhancements. So thanks again for your support.
Very cool. Thanks again, Joe. Appreciate that. So because of this new functionality on the system, we're running ongoing training, Zoom calls. I will run these. We call it Never Stop Learning. This is a typical agenda for those calls. We'll do a system overview. We'll show you how to set up your system initially in terms of your users and your locations. If you want to add any locations, we'll show you how to do that, building out your first watch list, and then how you overlay MX active markets on top of all that. And then finally, we show you the rest of the transaction flow, how the documents flow, your ACH transaction pull confirmations, your shipping confirmations, all of the downstream stuff that happens digitally. We walk you through all of that. That's just a couple of different screens from showing both the buyer and the seller side. We'll walk you through the inventory reports that you get from us and the summaries that you'll get from us downstream. So whether or not you're a new user or you've been a user and you just need a refresher, jump on those training calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Also want to put a shout out to our in-live conference that we're going to be running in Chicago at the end of October. This is going to be a fantastic session, a live session that's going to run over the course of 3 days. We're going to have industry roundtables. We're going to have group discussions. We're going to have all sorts of guest speakers that have acted as change agents within their own vertical markets, everything from SAP software to NBC Peacock, digital programming, all sorts of things in between. It ought to be a fascinating discussion. Also want to put a shout out to other information sources that we're now providing. Besides just on the transactional side of the business, we're becoming obviously an industry expert. We're seeing prices, we're seeing live pricing, we're seeing counter pricing, we're seeing where product is being sold and offered from. Tremendous amount of information flowing through the exchange. And every Thursday, we have something called Lunch with Lumbermen at noon, where our own Ashley Beckholt hosts the program with Matt Lehman. And we've now just added Lumber Insider, a second program on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock Central. Ashley can't even walk down the street anymore without being noticed by the rank and file. So it's a tremendous thing. And we invite you to attend those sessions. The amount of discussion and visibility to the marketplace is really fantastic. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our own Ashley Beckholt. Ash, you there?
Thanks, Paul. Can you hear me?
I can.
So I appreciate the introduction. I am trying to aspire to be as prolific as Ron Burgundy during these interviews. So just real
Ash, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
I can't. I don't think. I can try. How does that sound?
Good as we got.
Okay, good as we got. So as you can see over my shoulder here, the MX message that I'm moving forward with: point click buy, point click sell. It's that easy. As Paul mentioned, on our MX network, we had a lot of experts on this week talking about different things. What we're hearing, a lot of jobs still out there to be covered, right? A lot of interest still out there. So what I'm feeling is, and this is just an opinion, I'm seeing a lot of, got a call last night from a big hotel builder in the Midwest. has concrete poured in Omaha and a few other places that they're waiting for lumber prices to come back. So I see things like that. I'm thinking, okay, how much where is this market going? And then I see little pockets where some stuff shows up at. So a good mix out there. Multifamily builders are still looking for stuff. Large contractors was on with a big yard yesterday. Their contractors are saying they've got jobs sold out through August. Here's one of the really interesting things. So Greg Riley put out one of his questions on when the market may turn, had over 400, I think 350 votes on it. As a joke, he put on there, maybe the fourth one, will lumber become the new cryptocurrency? Yesterday, a new crypto contract was announced on lumber. So his actual question on crypto has become reality. We are now trading in the matrix, living proof that we are in a simulation. So a lot of stuff on the platform. The questions that came up in some of these meetings is, how is the industry changing? We're going to go digital on a lot of things. A lot of the traditional back and forth is going to go to B2B because it's necessary, and the markets are moving so fast. There's so many new players. So come on our network. MX will be heavy on in 24 hours, buying and selling. Paul, back to you.
All right, Ashley, thank you for that. We appreciate your insight. We appreciate everyone's support. The amount of momentum that we're gaining right now is really tremendous. And again, you'll find Ashley on Lumber Live on Thursdays and now on Wednesdays as well. Mike Wisniewski, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guest speaker and go from there.
First, I want to give a little shout out to Ashley Buckholt. It's his birthday today, so everyone should wish Ash a very happy birthday. All right, Kyle Little, a true lifetime lumberman, grew up in a lumber yard, and now is, chief operating officer at one of the largest independent distributors. What we're going to talk about today is what's it like to be a distributor in with the highest price of lumber ever, and how they're dealing with it. I think my goal with this conversation is to give everyone who's listening in perspective on what they're doing, and just how it might be easier to interact with them. So with that, hey Paul, if you could
one step ahead of you.
Oh, look at that. Perfect.
Thanks.
No, I think you got to maximize your, wait.
I think that's
I have to do it.
Yep.
All right, perfect. Kyle Little. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody.
I'm correct. You grew up on a lumberyard, right?
That's correct. The birthday boy and I share a lot of similarities in our timeline of the way that we grew up in the lumber business. My great-grandfather started a hardwood sawmill in eastern Pennsylvania just after the Great Depression, and built it into a retail and a manufactured business that my grandfather and then my father took over. And so kind of sawdust in the veins, and had the opportunity to really, my dad forced me to go work outside of the family business out of college. And I didn't really go venture too far. Got an internship at a buying group, and the rest is history, and kind of worked my way up through a variety of different roles in the co-op side of the business, the brokerage business, and then the distribution business where I currently reside here at Sherwood Lumber.
Perfect. Perfect. So you kind of know what you're talking about a little bit.
Yeah, it's been around for a little while.
All right. I want to just jump right into probably the hottest topic, which is, in my opinion, order files. So where are we at? When can Sherwood ship a truck today? 716 OSB.
Yeah, so sure. Well, 716 OSB, not so sure, because that really is so scarce right now today that our order files, just to put it in perspective, we're selling our contracts on that material into the month of September now. So
what?
Yes, into the month of September at PTS formulas. They're all reserved. Customers are, they're like, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have? And we're like, I guess we'll release these loads. Here's the formula, and we're getting commitments on it. It's unbelievable right now, the order files that are out, specifically on the panel side of the business.
So I'm assuming you're buying it price time of shipment and then selling it price time of shipment?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
wow. But now you're a distributor. So, I mean, you must be holding some back, like just to put a
Yeah.
couple units.
So can I give a little plug of like who Sherwood Lumber is and kind of show? Can I share
sure.
my screen? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just
Please
give
do.
you one slide, just kind of give a general overview of who Sherwood Lumber is, if you're okay with that.
Please, that's great. Thank you.
So you can see my screen right here.
Yes, sir.
So this is just kind of one area of what we are. So Mike talked about it, from an independent wholesale distributor. There's not so many left here in the United States, but Sherwood Lumber is one of them. We are a family-owned and operated business. Been in business now. We're pushing almost 70 years. It'll be 70 years in 2024. We have the second generation moving into the third generation. We're headquartered here in New York, Melville, New York. I recently moved here just about 3.5 years ago from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We are approaching in total volume a billion board feet through our system on an annualized basis. So of that a billion board feet, 80% of it would be something that we physically touch in one of our distribution centers inside of our network, whether it's stuff that we're going out there and staging for a forward price order in California or in Texas or into Denver or Salt Lake City versus our dedicated distribution centers that we have in the Southeast, Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. So, and then 10% on top of that is what we would do on a drop ship basis, like what we are selling direct from a sawmill to the customer. So that your example of those truckloads selling our LP contracts or what have you for further out, as an example, on the OSB side, those would be in most cases not going through our distribution network. They would be delivered directly to the customer. It really depends on where the customer is looking at. So on top of that, just to give you an overview, we cover 2,000 customers throughout the United States and to shipping over to 6,000 destinations. We have not sold outside of the continental US. We're not exporting goods into other countries or into Canada or into Mexico. We have focused solely to the US markets. And unfortunately, we didn't get to sell any lumber last year into Hawaii. I guess I need to go do some prospecting there. So
yeah, exactly. Claim. Definitely need a claim in Hawaii.
Yeah. So I need to make a trip there. But outside of that, you gotta understand a little bit of where we're selling our product. As far as sourcing product, the majority is coming from North America. So that would be inclusive of Canada. But we do a tremendous amount of volume from South America in the 4x8 panel markets and out of Europe, both on dimensional products and panel products. We're doing a little bit out of Asia, but a very, very small percentage overall from an import perspective. So that's a little bit about Sherwood Lumber. And as far as what our tagline is, we'll be there. Ashley's pretty familiar with that over the years. I mean, we really pride ourselves on looking at inventory as an asset. We have, in some cases, anywhere from 100 to 120 million board feet of material on the ground at any given time. As far as on ground, in transit, on order, that can push up towards 200 million feet as we've grown this business. I can tell you that it's not that big now because, one, you can't procure that much product today comparatively to years past. And plus, the challenging times, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit more, it costs 2.5 to 3 times more to operate your business today than it did just a year and a half ago. So it's a very, very challenging proposition when you see lumber and panel products, forest products in general, doing what they've done here in the near term.
So I'm going to do a little interpreting for you. You threw out, board footage numbers. I just did the rough math. So you're selling approximately 35,000 trucks on a year, and you've got typically north of 4,000 trucks in inventory, 4,000 to 5,000.
Yep, on any given time. Yep, any given basis. I would say right now, because of the unprecedented demand that we're experiencing, that on-hand availability or even in transit availability is at all-time lows because people are making commitments today for much longer, more volume for a much longer period of time.
So, okay, let's circle back. Thank you. That was great. I really appreciate putting the perspective on it. Circling back to OSB on hand or not on hand. I mean, how do you operate that where, okay, we're going to be a distributor. We're going to put a couple units on a truck for our good customers. Like now you're selling into September. I mean, it seems like quite a dichotomy.
It's unbelievable in the sense that, number one, let's go back from an OSB perspective, because the way OSB is produced in North America particularly, I wouldn't call Sherwood Lumber as the driver of the OSB markets. The way that the mills have vertically integrated to the consumer and through buy groups and what have you, and through distribution. Distribution is one of their targets, but we're not necessarily driving the OSB market. We're kind of the secondary source, and so the majority is still getting done on a direct basis. But that being said, it's very difficult to operate the business right now, not understanding and not having the supply chain to go, or supply volumes to go meet that demand, because the demand is immense. I mean, if we had quadruple, maybe even 5 times more the commitments on our contractual basis, I still think we would be out that far. That's how much demand is being thrown at us right now.
So tell me about the South American, European panels. Are they a direct replacement for some North American production?
Yeah. So on the South American supply is primarily radiata pine, plywood out of Brazil. Sherwood has been an importer of those products for 20 plus years before my time at Sherwood Lumber. And we've been importing those all along the eastern seaboard from Florida all the way up to Boston, basically, over the last 20 years.
If I'm a user of plywood,
yeah,
am I going to notice a big difference if radiata pine?
No, I mean the APA right now. There is a pending lawsuit out there based on some of the fight between the grading agencies. I haven't heard a lot about it quite frankly, in the last 12 months that we've been in this supply crunch. And I think it was mainly happening when we were sitting at all-time low prices, a year and a half ago and what have you. But, high prices kind of like make mills feel a little bit better. So look, the priority is probably not so much to go and attack the Brazilian supply chain right now. But yes, as far as, substitute product and use availability in the marketplace and being able to, there's a lot of people that probably have used Brazilian product and not even known it for many years.
Just in the last 2 weeks.
Compared to Southern Yellow Pine plywood, not compared to fir, of course, from the Pacific Northwest.
So in the last 2 weeks, I've gotten pinged by Chinese OSB producers. Have you guys dabbled in that yet?
So we have done a little bit of importing of non-agency certified product for industrial use only. So no structural panels to this point on the Chinese side. I'm not familiar with any Chinese manufacturer that has any structural. The product they produce has a structural tolerance, but I don't believe anybody is certified as of yet. So I think that would be the next wave of OSB at some point in the next 2 years that comes in from those markets. You're going to see more of it coming from Europe as well. I mean, it already is coming here from Europe, but with these prices sitting, at $1,000 a thousand or $32 plus a square, a sheet of material. There's no market better than the U.S. market right now from a pricing perspective on OSB.
All right, let's flip to lumber and order files on lumber. What are you seeing? Like, what are you? If I want a truck of 2x4, 92 or 104 and 5/8 studs, half a truck.
Yeah, today I'm quoting in most cases through our distribution network the end of June to early July on that. So one of the things that you and I talked about earlier this week is I haven't posted a lot of material on your network because I can't meet the service proposition of the 2 weeks 3 weeks maybe or sooner that the customer is expecting to have the material. What we make available for sale on that day gets sold in many cases before 10 o'clock in the morning by our sales team. You know, they're calling their customer up saying, would you like to add to this commitment? Boom, done, it's gone. And it's a lot of it sometimes, depending on the item and what have you, it's done without a price. It's just they're frantically trying to go and procure material in this environment. Sherwood has prided itself over the years in the distribution network of providing 24, 48 hour, maybe 72 hour turnaround on the distribution network. Now we've become a 3 week or sooner business, like in the last 18 months, which is really weird for our sales team. It's really bizarre for us in general. That's not to say that we don't have prompt shipment on certain things, but in most cases, we have the material we have on the ground. It's waiting for other material to come in to ship with it because it's our, the holes that develop over any given time. So as far as an order file goes, we've created, the sales that we had last month, we had the shipments we had last month, we did over 50% more in sales. So the order file we're creating continues to expand. So if you do 100 million feet last month in shipments, then you're doing you had 150 million board feet in sales that are adding into the system. So we're creating this snowballing effect right now. It's going to take some time, even if the market does ultimately roll over. I think, because of the order files that we're building right now, particularly on our side, the change in price, even though it's going to be huge, we might not be overly exposed because the order files are so large right now.
So how does one deal with that order file? Not just on your end, but when you're buying something?
So we are, so,
be a little nervous,
yeah, you're right. Our tagline is we'll be there. We'll be there in good times, we'll be there in bad times, and we'll be there when, nobody really knows. So we really want to make sure that we're that primary, secondary supplier. So, if we don't have the inventory, in most cases, we're not going to get the sale. It's challenging in this environment because we're making commitments now on wood that's not shipping in most cases, the end of May, early June. Well, end of May is pretty much done now. So June and sometimes July. We have to look at other places to buy lumber as well. So what might have been our standard supply chain, a year ago, we're going to have to go deeper into the marketplace to see, what we can find for quicker shipment. So it's not like we can go all mill direct in that environment. We have to look and see where there's other pockets that might own fiber that might be in quicker shipment than what, West Fraser or Canfor or Sierra Pacific or some of these other, major producers that we do business with, JD Irving, what have you, because we need to fill that hole on the shelf in a quicker time period. So we'd be willing to even pay more in that time period, knowing that we're going to get it quicker because that inventory turn minimizes our risk. The price is arbitrary at this point. It's all about the inventory turn, right? So we want to make sure that we have that when the customer needs it, because if you have it when the customer doesn't, what's the first thing that changes? Right. And we don't want to be exposed with that. We will eventually be exposed. Nobody will be able to get away from a move when this ultimately changes, but we want to make sure that we have minimized that exposure, or at least we understand exactly what that exposure is, as opposed to wishing and hoping. Really taking a more scientific approach to the whole procurement strategy.
So let's just talk about August, for instance. How would you recommend a lumber dealer, builder, someone who right now is, potentially looking at quoting jobs or looking at business for August?
So the business for August, I think, is much, much easier than, like today. So let's just go back to how do you manage your inventory in an environment like this? I'll tell you how we're managing our inventory. We are not looking typically we look at 45-day inventory, 30 days on hand, 15 days in transit, and then another whatever we have on order is on order. Okay. But that 45 days is really is what we look at as our best hedge. So you cannot There's no better hedge than being able to go and turn an inventory footprint. We've now at this higher price range, because the risk is much, much greater, tried to get it to where we have less than 30 days of inventory on the ground and no more than 10 days in transit. And then whatever we have on order is what we have on order to fill in that gap. I recommend, all of our dealers, we should continue to operate. You can't operate with nothing, right? So you have to have a minimum of 30 days in some form or fashion all the time. And we should continue to support the market through that period. But as far as quote, and then you're not as exposed when the market ultimately turns over, because the way the price has moved up, all we're creating, it doesn't end well. Let's just say that in this type of environment. However, it doesn't mean that we can't trade in a higher range as we move forward. We are dealing with a major global supply challenge. Everybody's trying to do the same thing at one time, and that's why we're seeing this major spike in prices. You can see this in history on other commodities, whether it be oil or corn or wheat. It happens in the past. This is just one of the first times lumber has ever experienced it to the tune of 300 and 400%, right? So, but other commodities have seen this over the last 30 years. History would tell you that it ends in badly. However, it does ultimately set up where you could potentially trade in a much, much higher range. And I think lumber hasn't had long-term inflation, and we will likely trade in a much higher range. But we're getting overextended to that crazy upside. Going back to your question, how do you handle things for further out? I mean, you have there are tools out there today. Like, we can go and price lumber or help customers get lumber at a discount to the current price and cover them on a portion of that. And it really would depend on their risk tolerance, how much they would want to cover. But there are tools out there to go and do that. That's something that we do lots of with our guaranteed forward pricing, plan. So the customers that get it are going out there and quoting jobs using our platform, securing those jobs, and then we work together with those customers based off of their risk tolerance to go out there and either lock in a portion of it or lock in all of it. Some guys just say, I don't want to worry about it. I want you to take care of that. I made my margin. The markets go up, markets go down, but over time, I'm going to continue to be, I'm cutting off those tops and I'm cutting off the bottoms, and I'm just going to make my money in between there, and have done very, very well. And taken really a tremendous amount of stress and anxiety out of their day-to-day procurement and, well, really their selling and procurement strategy.
Have you been able to get, we basically know production is maxed out where it's at in North America. I mean, I think it's fair to say, that's a fair thing to say. Europe has capacity they could bring over. They may not be certified yet. Or have you been able to expand the supply coming in from Europe?
So not on that aspect, but I have had some recent inquiry about if you could get certification of my product, could we bring it into the States, and vice versa. So there has been more inquiry. So I really believe the volume will be, two things. I think demand is going to, these prices are going to ultimately delay projects, right? Like I did a little reconnaissance last night. I was out and I went to Home Depot and just wanted to see like what the prices they're charging for material today versus this, $700 price move that we had in futures in the last, 30, 40 days, and have their prices kept up with this most recent surge in price? And the answer is no. So it takes another 20 to 30 days for that material, that price increase to get into the actual marketplace for the consumer to see it. And I don't know about you, but everywhere I go, it doesn't matter. You just hear the conversation around it. I went to the one store, I went to my son's baseball game, and all you hear, did you guys hear about, have you seen these lumber prices out there?
I know.
Like, it's insane. Like, so and if they're talking about it now, what are they going to talk about, say, when it goes up another 20, 30, 40%? And ultimately, people have saved a lot of money over this period of time, but I think what they're going to make a decision here as we move forward. I agree with a lot of the commentary that Matt Lehman has said on your things the last few weeks. They're going to make a different decision to go out there and spend that money. And that project is going to get delayed and or put off a year or two. And so demand, we're at peak demand right now. It's only going to go down here for a short period of time, and supply is incrementally going to go up, not necessarily in domestic production, but with other sources. European imports are, I mean, we've seen it. They've doubled, tripled, and quadrupled in a 3-year period. And I know from our commitments on the European side, we're getting a lot more product, and we're happy to take it because we have the demand for it. Like, people need it. There will be a point when it becomes a little bit too much, and that will take care of a large portion of that demand.
So why can't these indexes, the reported prices, why can't they actually report the market that's happening?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges, and it's probably noted on a couple of your calls prior, is because of what we experienced early stages in COVID last year, people have recognized that I need to have supply. So they've added what would normally be, 20, 30% of their procurement strategy on contract. They've moved that to 50 and 60 and 70. And then you have the two big boxes that have become a much bigger player in the marketplace, particularly on the pro dealer side, being Home Depot, and have taken, used their buying power to go and, for lack of better terms, try to pull supply away from the rest of the marketplace to really control that supply. So you've gone from a real open market commodity to a market that's very closed now because there's such a much higher percentage of material on contract, and that makes what is available in the open market very, very volatile, and that's why you see sometimes OSB trading at $200, $300, $400, $500 over print, right? Because there's just so few people that have anything available in the open market.
I know, it's strange to me. So the product mix as it is today. Tightest item out there. Like what's the worst thing if I needed to buy it today? What's the worst thing I would need to buy?
Well, I believe right now it sits in those sheet goods, 4x8, 4x9, 4x10. We're going to see, I think the next really tight thing is going to be 23-30 seconds underlayment, because the mills realize there's more resin, there's more chips that go into that product, and the premium that they're getting is not as large as the 7/16 or the 15-30 seconds or the 5/8. So you're going to see, I think, underlayment shortage be huge here in the next 2 to 3 months.
What about some of the more specialty items, sidings or decking or anything there?
Yeah, so decking, we're in the decking market in the Northeast and what have you. Order files have been pushed out. I wouldn't say that it's unfindable, but I will say that lead times are, mirror a lot of what we're seeing in the commodity world. But I think as far as real availability and scarcity, the items that are going to really create bottlenecks at the job site level are the things that people have already noted. Engineered lumber, LVL, and then the sheet goods that we just talked about. Veneers, there's just not enough veneer production to be able to support, all the demand for these value add products. So that's going to continue to be very tight.
All right, so this was great. Wrap up a little bit here. What do you see? What does Kyle Little see that nobody else sees in the market developing? Like what's something that you think you could shed a little bit of light on for someone that may not see?
I don't know that I'm that clairvoyant to go out there and say that this is this is what's definitely going to happen. I think the one thing I see right now, and it's very obvious to me and it happens many times in history, whether it be in the .com push in the stock market, oil prices, what we're dealing in lumber prices, what everybody feels like this product, this industry, or these items, the scarcity is going to last forever. So we are making decisions on a tremendous amount of fear right now, which is driving prices to all-time highs, right? We just hit, we're sitting locked limit up in the July contract right now. So, and all we have done is move locked limit up because they can't buy enough. And I, really think that we have to, take a step back and say, what is really sustainable and how can we continue to operate this business? And, the NAHB wants to focus on supply. We have underbuilt in this industry for over 10 years now, and population is growing, and the population that is growing is the one that needs to buy a house. So affordability is going to be challenged here in the very much in the near term with these most recent price moves. And if you have interest rate inflation at any point, it could be, catastrophic to what needs to happen here in the housing world. So I would just, be careful. I mean, run your business the way that you need to run that. Don't be afraid to support what you need to do, but be cautiously optimistic in the sense that this will not last for a long period, forever. And when it does correct, make the appropriate adjustments very, very quickly. The one thing that we've really focused on here at our company is really our culture and our team. And, you got to rely on your network of individuals and going out there and recognizing that this is a highly stressful environment, whether it be trucking, whether it be procuring product, whether it be selling product. And we're all in this together. And if we can go out there and look at new ways to bring products to market, you got to be open to, making those changes much quicker than you did in the past. So that's what we really focused here at Sherwood. As far as, again, going out there and saying what's new in this world, the one thing I will say is that we could last in this environment a lot longer than people anticipate. We, in most cases, or what people will tell you is that we already have. But I don't know that when it does change, that it's going to be anything different than what we've experienced in the past. That change will be quick, and it will be definitely, we won't know it until after it's happened. So just be prepared for that as best as possible.
That's fantastic. I know everybody on the call is having challenges running their businesses in the unknown. Materials Exchange is doing our best to bring the known to to our users through calls like this. But I think your words of wisdom are correct. You have to stay the course, and put yourself in the best possible position to continue operations, yet be flexible to make the change.
Yes,
that's a delicate balance.
It's a very delicate balance. And the one thing is, like, the game that we play in the lumber business, it has no beginning and it has no end. It's it's an infinite business, right? So you have to go out there and make those adjustments to go out there and be in the game for the longest period of time and go and maximize your opportunity throughout, but while minimizing, whatever risk is out there at any given time. So it's not about hitting home runs. It's about going out there and playing the game. And those that play the game the longest in business in general are the ones that win.
We got a quick question for you. Are you selling a lot of alternatives for sheathing? Have you been able to flip guys?
No, not necessarily. We have not seen alternatives in our business necessarily in specific to sheathing at this point. No.
Do you know?
We are selling different. I will say this: we are selling sheathing, but different species, different products. So jobs that would have once been a high performance board, we've moved to commodity. Ones that used to be fir, we've moved to pine. We have done that, but I haven't necessarily seen a move back to boards for for roof sheathing or anything like that in any markets at this point.
Got it.
Like a totally different product.
So look, I know Kyle is open to. What about thermoply? Have you had anybody doing thermoply?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not familiar with that product.
It's like a really thin kind of fiber board, sort of. It's interesting. I think it's a decent product, but thank you so much. If anyone wants to get in touch with Kyle, he's at Sherwood. Go to their website. You'll be able to get in touch with him. Great guy, as you can tell. He's a wealth of knowledge, and I really like the company mantra. We'll be there. And you know what? It's true. If you make good decisions, you do the right thing, and you operate your business with a high level of integrity, you will be there in the long term.
Thank you, Mike.
Sherwood's
All right. Very good, you guys. Thank you. Great interview, and thanks, Mike, and thank you very much, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Just as a reminder, so our upcoming speakers for the next couple of weeks, we've got Todd DeWalt from the Construction Leading Edge. Will be joining us next week. And then the week after that, we'll have Tim Atkinson from Stimson Lumber Company is our guest as well. So with that, we want to thank you all again for your participation and for your support of Materials Exchange. We look forward to working with you. Have a great day and have a great weekend. We will talk to you next week. Take care.